Hello everyone, welcome to Fortes and Fide. It's been a pretty long time since I've uploaded a video on this channel, but I just want to let you know that I'm still planning on uploading. I just wanted to share with you guys a quick reflection today about avarice and the love of money. So I think for many of us, we often go through our life trying to think about the ways we can provide, right? Especially if you're a guy, you know, and you're a husband or a father, you probably think of many times where, you know, working that extra hour or putting in more effort into something is going to automatically mean that you'll get more income. And then for some reason or another, we determine that to be our self-worth, right? And that's really what the world tries to tell us all the time, is that, you know, your worth is based upon numerical numbers in a bank account, right? Now, you probably have heard this saying that the love of money is the root of all evil, and that is true. And I think one of the traps that many of us fall into is especially, you know, especially as you get more exposed to lifestyles on social media, which I think is a plague on society, is many of us tend to look at what we have and think it's not good enough. And I've done this many times. In fact, I've done it recently where I was obsessing over, you know, I got to make money. I got to do these things, right, in order to provide. And then when I actually look at my actual income, I'm like, oh, wait, I actually have enough. Why do I have this desire to keep making more and more, even though there's no, it's not really necessary, right? It's not necessary. And one of the ways I try to get out of this, I try to not think about this, is I simply just look at the cross. Jesus lived his whole life here on earth not thinking about those things, right? In fact, he tells us not to. He tells us not to worry because he says the very hairs of your head are counted. And I think the reason why many of us try to seek, you know, monetary means and try to seek money a lot is because we have this natural inclination to go towards something that's infinite. And the only thing that really can satisfy us is God himself. And I think what the devil likes to do is he likes to replace God with anything possible, anything but God, right? And if you guys know my conversion story, at least my reversion and then back to the Catholic faith, there was a time in my life where I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking anything but God. I will latch myself onto anything but God. And it's a very strange phenomenon, and I feel like a lot of people experience that, where, you know, the thought of Christianity or the thought of believing in God sounds so non-practical, right? Non-practical because, you know, the way of the world is honestly just making money. That's the way of the world. The world's value is determined on how much income you make. Think about all the celebrities. Think about all the actors and people that look up to them. They look up to them because for one, maybe they're inspiring, but two, it's probably because they have a lot of money, right? And there's nothing wrong with money, but I think obsessing over it and thinking about that constantly is definitely unhealthy. And I know I'm guilty of that as well. Just this morning, the reason why I want to film this video is I just started having these really negative feelings about just everything, just anxiety building up and thinking about, okay, do I have enough money for this, you know, this expense and that expense? And then I started doing the math and I was like, wait, I'm fine. Why was I worrying? I had no reason to worry. And then I realized, like, well, that's the evil one trying to distract me from praying. Because honestly, that's my goal every morning, is to wake up and pray. But then I started having these thoughts about, you know, monetary stuff. And then I started to skip my morning prayers and started to just dive into like this rabbit hole of trying to make more money somehow, right? And the reason why I want to share this video, and I felt compelled to share it with you, is because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people who go through the same thing, who think that it's never enough. Like, it's never enough. Like, you have to always make more and more. And especially as men, as providers for the family, we often put ourselves in that position where we think like, if I want to be a good father or a good husband, I need to provide monetary things, even if it means sacrificing the time I spend with my family, even if it means sacrificing the relationship I have with God, when in reality, the role of the father is to provide spiritual protection. You're the front line of defense. If you are not spiritually strong, the rest of your family is going to be more susceptible to attack. I firmly believe this, right? I don't have children yet. Please pray for me and my wife. We are wanting children, but I definitely noticed that. Like when I stopped praying and when I stopped taking my faith seriously, I just noticed that the inclination to sin in my house is higher. I've just noticed that. But when I start making a habit of praying every day, I notice there's a trickle effect on myself, on my wife, on the people I'm around, other family members. I just noticed there's a trickle effect, and it's definitely not by my own means, but it's just by allowing God's grace to work through me. And one of the things I challenge you today is that whenever you start to think, to obsess over finances or think that you don't have enough, read the passage about the hairs on your head are counted. I want to say it's Luke. Catholics, we're not good at memorizing Bible quotes, but you know what I'm saying. In the Gospel of Luke, read that passage over and over, meditate upon it, spend 10-15 minutes. That's what I have to do sometimes. I have to meditate upon the words of Christ, because as Christians, we believe everything that Christ said is true, and the Bible is inerrant. So Jesus was a real person. He did exist. He did say those things. The question is, do you believe what he said? Based on everything he did, based on the miracles, based on his resurrection, based on the eyewitness testimony, based on all the evidence that we have about Christ, do you believe what he said? We've acknowledged he exists. He's the most written about person in history. There's no doubt about it. There's no myth of Jesus Christ. I hear that argument sometimes, and I'm just mind blown. Like, okay, why would the apostles go to their deaths believing in something that was fake? Sure, there's people that do things like that. Don't get me wrong. Plenty of people who are misled. But the fact that the Gospels were written so close to the life of Christ, so close, right? And we have proof of this. It's written very, very, like, within the living age of people who saw these events. They could have easily said, like, nope, that's not true. Nope, that's not true. No. And, even St. Paul testifies to 500 eyewitnesses to his resurrection. He's like, you can even ask them. So that's a topic for another time. But we knew Jesus walked among us. We knew that. God walked among us. The question is, as Jesus asked, who do you say that I am? Right? And if we are to take Jesus' word seriously, we got to look at this is why the church teaches us to meditate upon the passages of the gospel. It's not just to reinforce, the lessons, which is great, but it's also to help us recognize that these are the words of God himself. Like, from his mouth, he's saying these things. We should take them seriously. If he says, don't worry, if he says, store up your treasure in heaven, you best believe we better do that. And, and I think the way of the devil is to confuse us and to make us think about monetary things all the time. And that's what we're surrounded by, right? We're not surrounded by people who are wanting to grow in virtue. That's just not the thing. And if you are, great, that's wonderful. But the way of the world is not that. The way of the world is, how can I get ahead? How can I take advantage? How can I constantly worry about things that are honestly beyond my control, instead of worrying about the things that you can have a part of, which is growing in virtue and growing in trust with the Lord and just walking with him. One of the things I heard, and I don't really like Billie Eilish I'm not a really fan of her music. I don't dislike her as a person, but she said something that was pretty remarkable the other day, and a lot of people were making fun of her for it. And it was something along the lines of, people need to stop worrying about pleasing others. Just be yourself and be. Simply be. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I kind of agree with that. I think if more of us just simply be and stop trying to be someone else, on earth at least, then people would be way happier. Because I think that the problem with society is that we're always constantly trying to compare ourselves. I caught myself in this too. Like I went to martial arts school, and sometimes I scroll on Instagram because I have to post things for my school, and then I see a school with like a brand new facility. They have all these awesome stuff. They have all these crazy cool equipment. They have all these things, and then I look at that and then I start comparing myself to them, and then I have to stop myself. Like, whoa, 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 that's not me. I'm not that person. I have no idea what that person's life is like. They could be struggling with a divorce. They could be struggling with all sorts of stuff, right? And maybe not. Maybe they live a perfectly fine life. Maybe they're a devout Christian, or maybe they have all those things, and they have that too, and that's totally fine. But why am I comparing myself to that person, right? There's no reason for me to compare myself. And I think that's just a trap we all fall into. So, yeah, that's all I want to share with you guys today. Hope you guys are a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time.